Good morning, everybody. I was listening to that Michael Jackson music. How many of you attended Michael Jackson at the Hordern Pavilion 40-odd years ago? Anybody? No. You're all too young, I suspect. Anyway, I've been listening today to a lot of discussions, and the industry talks about it: agile, disruption, transformation, flexible, all these really important words. And I just thought, I looked through my slides very quickly, and I thought, have I got those words in there as well? And of course I do in some places. So I just thought, we have a few giveaways on our stand, but I just thought, let's, bring this, make this a bit more fun. So if you see Agile in my stand, I've got 3 giveaways. These are really interesting. I'll tell the story in a minute. Flashes now. These are actually called Luminades, and they were developed actually for a very serious reason. If a country is has a natural disaster, they're sent out to them to bring lighting. They're all solar powered. And so they're very innovative, and you blow them up and you have light. But so if in my slide, if it says Agile somewhere, I've got 3 to give away. There might be more times than 3, I'm not sure. You can stand up and say Agile, or say got it, or something or other, and I'll give you one of these, okay? So maybe I'll add some life to some of these words that happen. Okay, I've got to get the clicker out. Here it is. So you probably know Lenovo predominantly in this space. Laptops, PCs, etc. And 11 years ago, Lenovo purchased IBM's PC business. But you're maybe not aware. How many of you are not aware that we're in the data center space? Come on. Yep. A few hands. Yep. And that's because 2 years ago, 2 years and 1 month ago, Lenovo purchased IBM's x86 server business. So, in fact, this is a picture of 17 racks. 2012 Sapphire event, that's a big SAP event. It still is actually the largest SAP HANA environment that was put together, 100 terabytes. And it was 17 racks. Today that could be actually put into 7 racks. So we actually are a pretty significant data center provider. And what I'm going to talk about today is a couple of things. First, a little bit about Lenovo. Secondly, about transforming the data center. And this is more, I suppose, from an infrastructure perspective. And lastly, some conclusions. So, this might surprise you. We are the 3rd largest x86 server provider in the world. There is a few others ahead of us. And when we started in the PC business, there was others ahead of us as well. Then we became number 1. So that is our plan in the x86 server business, to become number 1. We're not standing around. Obviously, we have a number of great partners, and Red Hat right on the top of this list. We have many other partners apart from what's on this list, but these are our strategic partners. These are the ones that we do a lot of innovative R&D work together to come up with innovative solutions. So I think it's important to see that Red Hat, leaders in the open source, open systems space, is a very, very key partner for us. Now, as a hardware infrastructure vendor, there's some things which are important to us. And the first one is making sure that our customers are happy with what we provide them with. And there's all sorts of ratings out there, and I know every vendor can come up with different ratings and things like that. But the first one is to do with customer satisfaction. And it really does talk about 6 straight quarters of being number 1. And I thought, well, this looks like a very, nice marketing slide. I thought I'd better pull up the actual first page of details of the report, because otherwise you're not going to probably believe me. This is a long report. This is just the first page. And it does talk about how Lenovo is distancing itself from the competitors. And it goes through some pretty important stuff around, sales, around, well, that's not so important, about product satisfaction, about support, all these areas, and many, many other factors. So it's a bit of an eye chart, I know, but I just wanted you to see there is detail behind what I'm talking about. So let's touch on some of these other areas. Reliability. We have been rated by ITIC. There's another big report. I'm not going to bring it out this time. Which talks about reliability. Again, rated number 1 in reliability for x86 servers. So as I said, we don't want to be number 3 forever. We want to be right at the top and number 1. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you need to be the best to get there. Another area which is really important is performance. Now, a lot of people would say, x86 servers, well, they're all the same, aren't they? You know, it doesn't make any difference. Well, it does make a difference. There is a difference between one server and another from a performance perspective. And this, as an example, is a Microsoft SQL TPC-H example for a 10 terabyte data warehouse example, situation, run out of words. Anyway, and okay, so there's a difference. The difference is, you might say, 5.7% between us and the next person. Not a huge amount, I get it, but there is a difference, and that difference comes to how you really spend time in R&D to put these environments together. SAP HANA. How many of you are SAP customers? Any in the room? Yep, a few. So many of you know that SAP is trying to move everyone to in-memory databases with HANA. We actually have more than 50% of all HANA deployments in the world are on us. That would be a surprise to many people, I'm sure. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we go into the presentation. More about performance benchmarks, doing great. And the last point talks about high-performance computing. There is a list, many of you would be aware of it, called the Top 500. The Top 500 is the fastest HPC environments across the world. In Australia, there is 5 that make the Top 500. There is one solution from IBM, there's one solution from Fujitsu, there's one solution from Cray, there's one solution from Xenon, and there's one solution from Lenovo. The one from Lenovo is actually the Uni of Adelaide, which we installed nearly a year ago now. There's also another category called Top 500. The top 500 green accounts are those which are the most economical, the most, the best from a green perspective. So in Australia, Uni of Adelaide is number 1. The number 17 across the top 500. So from an HPC perspective, which is often, if you look at it, it's like the Formula One of the car industry. The car industry says, okay, we do a lot of testing in Formula One, and some of that eventually comes in to the mainstream. HPC, high-performance computing, is just like that. A lot of technologies then come in there. So it's a very important focus for us to be very strong in the high-performance computing space. So let's now talk about transforming the data center. And, we've touched on, in some of the other areas, this explosion of data, the need for data, data which is disrupting organizations. There's all of these factors that are happening which are affecting organizations. So there'll be many more talks about this, so I'm not going to spend any time on it, apart from to say, organizations, whether you're the CIO, whether you're the CTO, agility. Here we go. I didn't even see that one in the slide. When I went through, I thought there'd be some more. Well done. So, the CEO wants growth, the CFO wants cost savings, the CIO wants to make sure that it has the skill in their organization and can really provide these applications that are required. The head of infrastructure is struggling with the complexity of infrastructure and the issues around that. So one of the answers to that is looking at a few different areas, and I would break them into these 3: cloud, software-defined architectures, and the data analytics space. There's another one. 2 people put up their hand. Who was first? Did anyone say it? Oh, I can't even see the person at the back. Oh, who was first? We don't have an adjudicator. Person at the back? Okay, there'll be some more. Should I walk all the way around the back or run? Thank you. Okay. I better not do this too much, I'll go too off topic. All right, so if you look at it, part of the answer for transforming the data center, and we've touched on some of these areas already: cloud, software-defined architectures, and the data analytics. If you look at what organizations are doing, some of them are saying, well, my current traditional IT is not flexible enough. It's not agile enough, that word. I'm going to put things in the cloud. And some of you, we've talked a little bit about this already this morning. You know, we've got to keep up with business demand, some of these issues. So Lenovo believes that this is what's happening in the industry, and we're pretty aggressive about this. This is 2020. So we're saying public cloud is going to keep growing dramatically. But we're also saying that traditional IT is really going to start to reduce significantly and be replaced by, you could call it different things, new IT or cloud architecture, and we're going to touch on some of these areas. But, you know, if I come to it now, public cloud. So public cloud, and I think one of our other speakers mentioned it, it's great to get up and running fast. There are plenty of applications. If I ask the question, how many of you got stuff in the public cloud, I think everyone will put up their hand. How many people? No one's put up their hand. Anyone got something in the public cloud? I think there's more. Maybe you've just done enough exercise for the day. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, there is great reasons to put things in the public cloud, but it depends always on the application, depends on the use case, depends on where your data needs to be. So many dependencies, and you look at those each time, and cost is a factor as well. Clearly, I think above IT, organizations think, oh, I'll just move everything to the cloud, that'll solve my problems. That to me sounds a little bit like full-scale outsourcing in the 1990s. I'll just put everything over there. But then it moved to selective outsourcing. So now we know that we're moving more to a hybrid world. And in that hybrid world, Red Hat has touched on their solution there. And there is a number of other solutions coming. Azure Stack, so that'll be Azure available for in-house, which has just been announced only, I think, a month or so ago, and available supposedly around the middle of 2017. And VMware making some announcements as well. So let's have a look at traditional IT, the technology that often people would say could be holding back their organization. Oh, it was too expensive, it took too long. I've got to have all this staff in different areas, in the server side, in the storage side, the network side, the security side, all these different components of traditional IT that make it expensive, slow, difficult to provision. So all of these different factors. So there's a change happening there. And, if you look at the costs, just look at traditionally the cost of the hardware. That's not the cost. The cost is that operational cost. That's the people cost, all the skills you need. This slide has been around for a long, long time. I mean, it continues to go higher up on the right side. But this is what everybody's trying to move away from. And I think we've learned from the... Two came up. I think you were first. Now, this is the last one here at the moment. We do have more at our stand. If you come and have a nice conversation with us, we don't have hundreds of them, but we do have more. So if you come and have a nice conversation with us, you may be lucky to get one of these as well. So, if you look at public cloud, thousands and thousands of servers, thousands and thousands of storage devices in those servers, we know that the world of, you could call it hyper-converged or software-defined, has been alive and well and kicking in organizations like Amazon and Facebook, etc., for a long time. That technology is now coming to the data center. It works. It means you don't have to have hundreds and hundreds of IT staff running around when a drive fails and being able to deal with that quickly, because otherwise the system might fail, or I need to have this specialist here and that specialist there. You don't need to have that to the same degree as you've had in the past with traditional IT. So traditional IT is, separate network, separate server, separate storage up on the left side there, virtualized. It was really started to happen in a big way with VMware, and it served the industry well. But now we see a lot more things happening in the industry from a hardware perspective. CPU performance just continues to go through the roof. You see SSDs, so solid-state drives, the cost of storage coming down. So from a server perspective, the new storage is part of the server. It's the software that drives. You're having multiple servers to create a software-defined storage environment. And I noticed outside from Red Hat, they're doing demonstrations, I think, of Gluster and Cephs to show some of those solutions. So as we move, the next thing which came out in 2011 was about Converged. And Converged was, well, we'll put all these things together. The vendor will put them all together. We still have separate servers and storage and network, but we'll deliver it to you really nicely so it clicks on and it goes really well from the start. But as soon as you need to have like a firmware upgrade, does that upgrade that you're making a change to the server going to work with the storage? Is it going to work with the network? And you still run into the same problem. So you have those operational costs which continue to rise. So now we've been moving into the software-defined space. And it's really happening in a big way in the storage space, and it will happen in a big way in the network space. The network space takes a bit longer, and there's some good reasons for that. There is a very dominant vendor in the network space, and change maybe isn't exactly the way they want it to change, maybe a little bit different to others. But there is a lot of things happening, especially in the telco space, which is going to make this happen. NFV, network function virtualization. So the telcos are going to make this happen because the cost of doing telco networking at a software level, sitting on servers, is much, much lower cost. So that's how it'll then change. So we're moving to a world where it's all software defined, lower cost, much fewer skills required in traditional IT, in a way copying what the public cloud providers have done, but doing that now in traditional IT, and that'll make it also easier to provide a hybrid style environment. Now, let's have a look at the data analytics side. And we've touched on some of this with some examples as well today. But every organization sees this barrage of information, and it's not just the information from within their organization they're trying to analyze. It's also video stuff that's happening, audio stuff that's happening, it's sensors from IoT. There's lots and lots of different data combined with information about your customers from an ERP system or a CRM system, bringing it together to understand your customer a whole lot better. Some organizations are doing a lot of this work already, but it requires lots of data, and it requires lots of power from the server to make that happen. So there's a number of different examples available in the industry today. And there's the SAP side on HANA in-memory database, and I'm going to touch on that next. There's clearly the Hadoop side. So SAP, HANA in-memory database, we support up to, I think you can do the calculation, 94 servers times 4 terabytes would be the largest in-memory database that you could have on HANA today, so 300 and something, whatever that works out to be. But there's organizations that have got petabytes of data. So, or information that they need to get access to be able to analyze all their customers and create richer environments for them to be successful with their customers. So, and that's more in the Hadoop space, and there's many options there. And lastly, also obviously Microsoft as well. If you're not such a humongous organization, there is lots of people using Microsoft to do those smaller but just as important data analytics for your organization. So let me touch on SAP, because it's an area that I have a fair bit of understanding around. Walmart, probably the largest retailer in the world. What do? Well, they run 34 terabyte SAP HANA cluster, 17 by 2 terabytes. What the sort of example that they use it for is if they have a sale. If you go to the US, you can get some great sales at certain times of the year. If they have a sale, they start on the East Coast. There's a 3-hour time difference between the East and the West. So what they do is they say they can, in real time, so point of sale information is coming straight into the HANA database. In real time, they can see, they've got a sale of these 1,000 items, 10,000 items, whatever the number is. This one's doing well, this one's not doing well, etc. They can change their strategy for when the West Coast wakes up. That's the sort of thing that they're doing today. Have a look at an example here in Australia, Harvey Norman. So Gordon Dingwall, who's the CIO of Harvey Norman, speaks about this. They have 250 stores. They had a server in each one of those stores doing some reporting. They're pretty old servers. It's costing them a fortune in terms of keeping that alive, just keeping the lights on. We've heard that term as well today, keeping the lights on. And what they did is they've moved that now to one 3 terabyte HANA environment, straight from the point of sale to the HANA environment. They do, traditionally they've done lots of reports. They have all these franchisees. They do 20,000 reports every night. But they now also have real-time available. They now also have self-service available. So there's a big change to get to this world of real-time, and it's pretty dramatic. When you have a real-time database, you can do these things so much faster. So that's the sort of example that you can see that can make use of this data. And that's actually only data today that's inside the organization. It's not even touching the data which tells you more about your customer, tells you, where your customers are from, what they're doing on LinkedIn, what they're doing on Facebook. You don't necessarily want them to all know that stuff. But every organization is trying to get more richer information, what they posted on a blog, all this sort of thing. There's another customer up there, which I heard a story, and I'm not going to mention who it is, who talks about getting the right staff levels to be there at any time of the day. So if a mother and child walk in the door, say at 2 o'clock, they've got the right products up there, they've got the right staff to tempt them to buy, etc. And they can do that through analytics. So there is many, many things happening in this space. Now, this looks like a bit of hardware. It is a bit of hardware. And I suppose what I want to say is here, there's a lot of innovation happening in hardware as well. And this is an example of it. So this is one of our HANA environments. This is an example of a 6 terabyte environment. We've gone to an all-flash environment here. What does that mean? It means that instead of having, 28 spinning drives, you can just have 9 SSDs. So, okay, you save a bit of space, no big deal, but you save a fortune on power, much more reliable, and, we've just very successfully sold probably the largest Red Hat environment on SAP HANA in Australia. I can't name who that is yet, but it's a large government department, and we've sold 18 of these servers to them, 2 and 3 terabyte environments. So there's a lot of organizations very interested in this type of technology. So let me make a few conclusions. So we all know that, organizations, those words, agile, disrupt. I was thinking actually, you're going to have those luminades and you're going to be sleeping at night and you're going to wake up and one of those words is going to come into your head and you don't know where you are. You can always turn the light on and, relax. It's okay. Probably the joke's really gone a bit too far, sorry. Anyway, so organizations are really struggling with this. Public cloud has a place, absolute place to get started. It has got a great place for some of the applications. For some organisations, it will be all the applications, depending on the size. But for most organisations, it will be a hybrid approach. But from an IT perspective, traditional IT, there's a huge change that organisations need to go through to move to the software-defined world. That'll give you much lower costs in terms of operations. It'll give you an ability to have, well, people who are not just keeping the lights on, but they're actually helping the business in a very direct way. We, Lenovo, have a great relationship and a partnership with Red Hat. You can hear some of our great alliance managers, leaders of the organisation speaking about that. But Red Hat really does have, through the open environment that they really keep on, I suppose mushroom is probably a reasonable word. It continues to go developers and keeps creating greater and greater opportunity for organisations. So we're very much a part of that, and we continue to create great innovative products together. So that's all I wanted to say. We also have on our stand a giveaway. If you come past our stand, we'll show you that, and you can take part in it's a tablet that you can walk away with tonight. And thank you very much for your time, and that's it. Ta.